That's where I grew up, I guess, and the love for the game. You know, I love basketball. I love playing basketball. I work hard for my money, man. I just want to be successful and play hard and play the right way.
Did you call the bank on that?
No, I just threw it up. But the bank is open now.
How do you like to interact
with the crowd? Yeah. Oh, it's unbelievable. You know, that they push me. Like I told the guys, like if you can't play for anybody, you can play for this crowd. You can play for these fans because they come in every night and give us energy. We're playing for ourselves and we're playing for those guys. So it's an amazing feeling for me to play against a crowd like this.
Bay Crowder, the eighth man Gaza. Welcome to the show. I'm Jared Weiss. With me as usual, Julian Edlow, and joining us, Sam Packard from WEEI. We're going to have a great conversation about Jay Crowder, who finally got the 22 points that we all knew he was going to get as soon as he replaced Jeff Green. We're going to talk about Jared Sullinger and Anthony Davis going head-to-head, and then we're going to talk about the trade that shook the world as Jeff Green was traded for pretty much nothing. So, first, let's start with the game tonight. Julian, Jay Crowder, my Bay, eighth man Gasm. It was an explosion of amazing hustle basketball tonight.
Career high, 22 points. He played a really great game tonight, and he's, you know, who would have thought a few games ago that Jeff Green would be gone and Jay Crowder would be filling in as the starting small forward of this team. But everybody liked him off the bench when he arrived in Boston. He's done a great job. He's a hustle player. He's a bigger Marcus Smart, as Brad Stevens called him. And he's done a really great job in all aspects, both sides of the floor, rebounding, scoring, passing. He's been great since he got here.
I was impressed by early in the game, he kind of hit a couple mid-range jumpers, which I didn't know was part of his game, and kind of got him going. And Stevens noted his toughness, which I think he displayed throughout the game. He had a couple steals, a couple blocks. And one thing he did was he moved really well without the basketball. Remember one play in the first half, Bradley found him for a nice dunk, and then he had a nice give and go with Sullinger later. Yeah. So I'm just really impressed with his all-around game, and think the Celtics should really push to re-sign him in the offseason.
Oh, there's no question they're going to want to do that, especially with Green gone. Sure, Young has a lot of similar aspects to his game, but he's pretty far behind at that point. Crowder's the kind of guy that you can always have around if you want to have a good playoff team, Sam. You know, you talked about that he showed that mid-range jumper. Stevens talked about after the game that he's so deliberate in the way that he works on those shots, and he's able to pull those shots off. And maybe it's a way of saying that he's not that very naturally talented, but he really works his butt off. But I mean, Sam, you see the improvements in Jay Crowder's game, see some of the stuff coming out that you don't really see from afar. I mean, what's the thing that really impresses you about how Crowder played tonight and how he has played so far since he got here?
I think it's really just his high energy on both ends of the court. Especially steals, I feel, early in transition. He's a menace in the backcourt, and he's creating a lot of fast break opportunities. And that's the key to his game. If he can add the jump shot, that's great, but really the key to the game is going to be that high energy, just creating steals like that.
Yeah, he's just a hustle guy that seems to fit in seamlessly. He fit in seamlessly off the bench. Now he fits in seamlessly as a starter. He's just the type of player that you can get on a good team, a bad team. You plug him in, and he's good to go. He looks like he's been playing with the guys through training camp. So I think what he brings to the table, and a reason that he'll be very attractive to other teams come off-season, is because of how easily he can fit in anywhere, really.
So here's the thing. They trade Jeff Green, right? Jeff Green was kind of the motor of their offense as far as scoring power and speed and athleticism. So you're thinking that their up-tempo offense is going to struggle, especially with Rondo being gone. But tonight, they were forcing steals, and they were doing what the Celtics have always done best. If they want to get into transition, they get steals on the perimeter, and they get fast breaks out of that. I mean, Julian, tonight you had Smart doing it, you had Crowder doing it, Bradley a little bit. I mean, how crucial is that going to be for them going forward?
It's very crucial because that's the only way they can win games. With the talent they have, their two best players have been traded since the beginning of the season. Their best players are, you know, Jared Sullinger. Jay Crowder might be one of their best players right now. If you're going to win games, it's going to be on hustling, making your three-pointers, getting out on fast breaks, and locking down on defense. That's the only way you can win games with this squad. And, you know, they came home after some emotional trades. You have the Brandon Wright deal in there, too, which might have thrown some guys off guard. And they got another, well, maybe so quickly threw them off guard.
They threw off the last 6 minutes of the bench off guard.
They flipped him pretty quickly. But anyway, kind of like the Rondo deal, they come home after a big trade and they play well in front of their home crowd and get a big win against the Western Conference team. So, they played with a lot of heart tonight. These type of wins are going to happen throughout the season. But, for the most part, these type of games are going to be tough to come by. But when they put it all together, as they did tonight, you saw what they can do out on the floor.
I think we saw mostly in this game that they struggle to score after a score by the other team. Their half-court offense isn't great, but when they can get stops and they're in transition, they're a pretty good team. They're always going to be close, and they're always going to distribute the basketball, playing that motion offense, playing quickly. So if they can't, it all starts on the defensive end. I know that's a cliche, but that's what this team needs to do to win.
Okay, so let's talk about the big matchup, which was Sullinger versus Davis. Now, Davis didn't cover Sullinger that much, but Sullinger was covering him. Davis had 34 points. He had a pretty decent game, right? It's just 34 points, nothing big. But Sullinger really answered in the fourth quarter. I mean, Davis had a monster fourth quarter. He had 13 points then. But Sullinger was pretty huge. He was getting rebounds. He was hitting threes. I mean, Julian, how crucial was this to see Jared Sullinger yet again having a key matchup and really stepping up, especially where he's the only good offensive player left on this team right now?
Well, this is what we want to see. Sullinger is probably the best player on this team. It's not a good team, but while you have him as the best player on your team, you might as well find out what he can do. And I know the last show we did together, we talked about how they need to dump the ball down to Sullinger, run some more plays in the post through him, and find out where that leads going to Sullinger as an offensive option. What better time to find out than now? This season likely is not going anywhere, so figure out what you have in Sullinger. Make him your go-to guy. I think he had 13 points in the fourth quarter tonight as well. So, he kind of matched Davis in that final frame, equalized him to a degree. So, keep riding him. Eventually, if Sullinger's a guy that you want to keep here, you want to have that confidence in him when he's your third guy on a great team that you can go to him and get baskets, and he's going to be able to do that because you instilled that confidence in him now.
I thought Sully did a good job, especially early in the game, just using his large posterior to kind of force Davis out of the paint.
Large posterior?
Yes, is a big posterior. And Davis really didn't get that deep positioning, and I thought Davis was relatively quiet in the first three quarters. Of course, he went off in the fourth quarter, but I thought Sully did a really good job just on defensively, which I was surprised to see. I thought Davis was going to dominate the entire game. So if he can continue to do that against elite big men, is nothing but upside.
Oh, that was quite a garrulous diatribe about the posterior of Jared Sullinger. So you're studying for your SATs out there. I did not do too well. So before we end the show, got to remind you to like our Facebook page, Garden Report Celtics. Download this podcast on iTunes, and you obviously are watching on the websites or on YouTube. Download the CLNS Radio post-game show on iTunes. Same thing for Celtics Beat on CLNS Radio. So we're going to come back for part 2. We're going to talk about this trade. We're going to hear from Danny Ainge, and then we'll hand out our awards as we do every episode. This is the Garden Report, 8th Man Gasm edition on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog.
He's a key part to our team. I mean, he's our starting point guard. It's not on him. I mean, it doesn't matter who's on the floor. We still have to execute, and defend. But we miss him out there. He does contribute a lot to our team. But you never know when players going to go out. So everybody has to step up their game. It happens. I mean, everybody's not going to have a great game every time they step on the floor. But as my job as a leader, to always encourage them, to go out there and keep doing what they're doing, whether they're a shooter, keep shooting the ball, defending, whatever the case may be. Never get down on your teammates.